We're about to have a new president of the United States, which is always an exciting subject for journalists because no matter what you cover, any area of policy around the world, in the United States, in the cities, farmland, you name it, you get to write about what you think the impact will be of the new administration. And yet, there's a striking tone to many of the stories as President-elect Trump starts to round out his cabinet. We still don't know Secretary of State, of course, but some of his picks reflect his views during the campaign. And yet, again, underlying tone of all this is that somehow these new appointees will be terrible for the country. So take, for example, HHS. Georgia Congressman Tom Price is the pick there. He will probably be confirmed. And just one headline among many, I saw this one in Business Insider, Trump's new cabinet pick wants to destroy Obamacare. Cue the scary music. Now, whether you think Obamacare is good, bad, should be abolished, should be improved, how many times during the campaign did candidate Trump say he wanted to repeal and replace Obamacare? So, of course, he's going to pick a health care chief who has that view. And in fact, Tom Price has a rather detailed proposal for an alternative healthcare system that you can pick apart, you can agree with, disagree with, but he's not just one of these guys who says, let's throw it out and not replace it with anything. And if you go down the list of appointees, you see this time and time again. Jeff Sessions at the Justice Department, a lot of stories quoting Obama administration people saying, you know, he would trash civil rights enforcement. Well, it's certainly fair to say he will take a different approach to civil rights enforcement. Same thing with the new Treasury Secretary appointee, Steve Mnuchin, former Goldman Sachs guy. Huffington Post had a screaming headline, Trump puts housing predator at Treasury. Why? Because Mnuchin once owned a hedge fund, which bought a failing bank, which had made a lot of these bad loans to homeowners and then started foreclosing on them. And so the main thing here, Education Department, Betsy DeVos, same thing, outspoken advocate of charter schools and school vouchers. So she's being portrayed in part by the teachers unions and by journalists sympathetic to the teachers unions as being anti-public school. Here's the thing. Elections have consequences. The reason we vote for president is not just to put a commander-in-chief in the Oval Office with all of that implies, but that person is going to pick department heads, agency heads. It's going to affect every corner of American life, regulations. And in Republican administrations, and I went through this in writing about the Reagan administration and the George W. Bush administration, a lot of these jobs tend to go to people who are from the business world, who have been regulated by some of these agencies, who don't necessarily like it, who have strong opinions about how things should be changed. In Democratic administrations, and we saw this with Clinton and Obama, the picks tend to be people with long government experience or who are from advocacy groups that want more spending or more aggressive government approach to problems of health, urban decay, poverty taxes, you name it. Again, that's why we have elections. When President Obama took over, a lot of the people that he named to these jobs, Eric Holder at Justice and you can go down the list, they made very clear that they were going to try to reverse the policies of George W. Bush. And that was reported at the time, but not with this note of alarm and fear. And for those who think that Trump's appointees are going to do a bad job or are going to slash these programs, they need to keep in mind that they would be carrying out the wishes of their boss. And look, it's all too easy when you have programs. Let's take healthcare. So a lot of news organizations went and interviewed people who got insurance under Obamacare. And the program has done a lot to extend insurance. People who did not have it or could not afford it. It's also jacked up premiums and caused some people to lose their coverage. So it's been a very mixed record at best. And they all say, gee, I'm really worried that I'm going to lose my policy under the new administration. But in other words, when you do that, you're always going to people who might potentially be hurt. And that's fair. It's part of the story. But too many times there is an underlying journalistic tone of this is terrible, this is going to hurt people, rather than, not every government program is great, not every government program is well run, and not every problem deserves a government solution. So keep that in mind as we have the confirmation hearings and as some of these people take office. Yes, they're going to shake things up. That's what Trump ran on. He wanted to drain the swamp. He's picking a lot of seasoned establishment types, but he wants to drain the swamp. Let's have that debate. It's a great debate, but let's be even-minded, let's be fair-minded about it, that this is what the new president said he was going to do if he got to Washington.